But when you say you had the spiritual, you asked, what is that you're doing? Because I know you were into golf and you were athletic and you used a lot of meditation and mind work. And I get that because I was like a diver. And I think that's when I realized visualization worked because I'd visualize the dive, and I know golf is it's a mind thing.
Yeah.
What is that moment in your mom's kitchen?
Oh, it was this moment where I honestly, I didn't know how to live anymore. My mom said to me, literally, if you don't want your life anymore, give it to spirit.
Oh,
And so I didn't have any frame of reference for that. I had grown up in a scientific family. I didn't know what giving your life to spirit even meant. And so but there was something in me that just needed to do that. And so I literally just turned to the wall. It was like the wall windows. And that moment, I just honestly gave my life to spirit that day, not having any frame of reference for what spirit even was. Had no beliefs in that time of spirit. And I'd only heard about it. I'd only heard people talking about it, but I felt like I needed something. I needed something that was beyond the ordinary, that was beyond the known. And like within 24 hours, I was having then these really expansive states of consciousness. I was literally interacting with spirit. Spirit was interacting with me. There was this great psychological awakening and opening that took place. And then this watershed series of synchronicities started to happen that I just couldn't deny. I had never had life experiences like that before. Other people who were also listening to spirit just started to see me like a beacon. They would just come to me and it was unbelievable. And people would ask me questions they had never asked before. And I remember talking to a lady I had just met, and she just looks at me really funny and she goes, "How have you been sleeping?" And I said, I don't know how you feel about this, but not really well. Like I'm being visited all the time now.
really?
And she goes, oh yeah, I know. Here's a book that you need to read. And she just handed me this book. And I'm not kidding. I opened up the book, and in the first 3 chapters, it literally spoke and was written everything that had been happening to me for the previous amount of time. It was like these unbelievably prophetic experiences were happening. And that just led me, deeper in down this rabbit hole of realizing that this was real, number one. Number two, I knew that no one else around me was having those experiences with me. And they needed further, investigation and going into them deeper and seeing what was really happening. And so that's exactly what I did. And ultimately, which is really amazing, within 6 weeks, I had been given the messages that I was supposed to go to Peru, and that I was ultimately going to find people that were waiting for me there, and that they were going to, initiate me into the mystic arts and the shamanic arts and the healing arts, and that would ultimately become my life.
Yeah. Even the word shaman, that wasn't part of your vocabulary, right?
No, I had only read about it, and it was nothing that I could even relate to. The concept of a tribal shaman, I hoped that they still existed. They were spoken about as people from the past. I always thought it was very interesting, the idea that someone could be tapped into this, this experience that was kind of beyond. But what was really amazing was, as soon as this happened, I realized that I needed to turn to the shamanic as a way to try to explain what was happening to me. There was this like deep calling. So that was ultimately the tradition that I ended up looking into. And then I experienced a series of events that was like remembering. It wasn't like learning. I would read books on it, and it was like I was remembering things inside of me that I already had tapped into in a way that I couldn't explain. And it was just awakening something that was deep within. And then I could actually perform the techniques that were described in these books immediately. So I could read like a chapter in a book about journeying, and then I could go do it. I could read about like a past life regression. I could do it. I could read about soul retrieval. I could do it. And there was just this deep like kinship with the traditions and the practices that I felt. And then, I was, like I say, hoping that there was still people who really knew the ancient arts and that were part of ancient lineages that I could somehow find, because at that time, the neo-shamanic revolution hadn't happened. There was really no trodden path about how to go find a shaman or, a plant medicine practitioner. It was just grab a backpack and head to South America and hope for the best.